Bienvenidos a esta presentación de los complementos indirectos y sus pronombres. This presentation will talk about how to find indirect objects, which indirect object pronoun to replace the indirect object with, and where to correctly position indirect object pronouns. This is the second half of a PowerPoint. The first half deals with the direct objects and their pronouns, and that can be seen in a separate video. The first task is to find the indirect object of the sentence. The steps to finding the indirect objects are very similar to those of the direct objects. The first step is to find the verb. The verb in our example sentence, yo leo las composiciones a mi hermana, is I read, leo. The next step is to ask to whom or for whom of the verb. ¿A quién leo? O para quién leo? To whom do I read or for whom do I read? The answer to this question is your indirect object. In this case, my sister, mi hermana, is the indirect object. The indirect object indirectly receives the action of the verb. I'm not reading my sister, but I am reading to her. She is indirectly receiving the action of the verb I read. What are the pronouns of indirect objects? These will probably look familiar to you if you've studied Spanish and studied verbs like gustar. The indirect object pronouns are me, te, le, nos, and les. The position is exactly the same as the position of the direct object pronouns. With the conjugated verb, I buy, the indirect object pronoun is placed before the conjugated verb. Le compro la ensalada. I buy the salad for my mom, for her. Le is the appropriate pronoun and the position is before the conjugated verb. This is also the case in a negative statement. If we are simply saying, I do not buy a salad for her, no le compro una ensalada. In the sentence, I want to buy a salad for her, we have a conjugated verb, I want, and an infinitive, to buy. If this is the case, you have a choice. Again, you can put it before the conjugated verb, le quiero comprar una ensalada, or you can attach it to the end of the infinitive, quiero comprarle una ensalada. With a command, an affirmative command that is, the pronoun is attached to the end of the command. Cómprale una ensalada. When you attach a pronoun to the end of a command, you need to count 3 syllables from the end and put an accent mark on the strong vowel of that syllable. Cómprale is how it's correctly pronounced. With negative commands, you don't attach it to the end. It goes in between the no and the command. No le compres una ensalada. So the next question that is typically asked by students is, what do I do if I want to say, buy it for her? Double object pronouns. So you're going to follow the same steps to find your objects and replace them with pronouns. And to say, I buy it for you, the salad, la ensalada, is it. That's the direct object, which requires the pronoun of la. For you is the indirect object pronoun te. And just remember your school ID. The order is I and then D. Indirect and then direct. Te la compro. The indirect is te. The direct is la. I buy it for you. Te la compro. I buy it for them. Gets a little bit more complicated. For them, the indirect object pronoun is les. The direct object pronoun for the salad is la. If we were to put those together using the ID order, we would say les la compro. Les la compro doesn't quite sound right. So whenever we're combining le or les with lo, la, los, or las, the indirect object pronoun becomes se la compro, instead of les la compro. Se la compro just sounds a lot better. I want to buy it for them. We have the same pronouns, but now we have a conjugated verb and an infinitive. Our first position is before the conjugated verb, which is quiero. Se la quiero comprar. And if we want to attach it to the end of the infinitive, quiero comprársela. Notice that we still keep the same order of indirect and then direct, se la, if we attach it to the end. And the third syllable from the end, when we add double object pronouns to an infinitive, will always be the A of the AR verb, the E of the ER verb, or the I of the IR verb. That will always be the third syllable from the end. Practiquemos. Rewrite each sentence, replacing the indirect object with the indirect object pronoun. We are simply practicing the indirect objects here and not the double object pronouns that we just talked about. Preparemos la cena para los niños. We prepare for whom or to whom? For the children. Our indirect object pronoun is les to replace the children. Les preparemos la cena. ¿Por qué no compras un coche para mí? ¿Por qué no me compras una coche? Un coche, I'm sorry. Yo traigo postre a tu abuela. Yo le traigo el postre. Necesito leer mi libro a mi hermanita. Has a conjugated verb and an infinitive. Le necesito leer el libro, or necesito leerle el libro. Gracias por ver esta presentación y te deseo mucho éxito.